So guys, today I wanted to show to you the two new Dutch aircraft that are being added in this update. I know, not a lot of people will care about these aircraft, but I still think they are very cool. So I'm gonna give you all the differences in and how they fly of the two new Dutch aircraft. One of them is the NF-5A. He feels like a normal F-5A, and he kinda is, of course, but it has some very interesting changes, guys. If you don't know, this aircraft actually was built by the Canadians. It's technically a CF-5. Okay, and with that, it has an improvement in the engine thrust. So yes, it is an F5A basically that has more thrust. Okay, so it will be faster accelerating, and it will be overall better to dogfight, maintaining the energy a lot better, right? So it's a very cool aircraft just because of that. But of course, in real life, there were other changes as well, including a radar for navigation, which in the game it won't matter too much, but yeah, Doppler navigation, of course. Very simple radar, barely even a radar, right? But these radars were made to basically, without having to use a proper INS system that it didn't exist back in the day, they would use the terrain following radar to know basically what direction the target was, the aircraft was actually flying, and with that have a proper kinda like inertial navigation, right? So very cool. It would have a new HUD as well, and new flares and chaff pods, new RWRs and stuff. In the game, the main difference will be that we have extra power over here, and it is still, of course, a version of the F5A that it is at 10.7 that has the AIM-9J. It has also the AIM-9N, but I don't think this missile is ready. In real life, this missile was better by a bit, not much, but by a little bit, with the new solid-state electronics. So it would mean that the missile is a little bit better, maybe in the track rate, stuff like that. In the game, it's the exact same. I thought it had a different FOV, but after inspecting, no, it's literally the exact same missile for now. But I would imagine that this missile will be improved, basically, right, or fixed, if you will. So these are the main changes, of course. If we actually take a look on stat chart, so as you can see, we can even have an incredible amount of power over here, guys. For example, look at this. This engine produces more power than the F5E's engine in the higher speeds. Yes, it produces more power than F5E. In the lower ranges, of course, it does not by a long mile, but in the higher speeds, it produces more power than the F5E in some aspects over here, and way more power than the normal engine of the F5A. So it produces a lot more power, meaning that, of course, with this, you have a lot less time to speed, of course, as you see over here. It even becomes the same time to acceleration to get to 1,000 kilometers per hour than the F5E. So although it is an F5A that has a 10.7 in BR, it has almost the same acceleration as an F5E. That's how good this thing is. And after a little bit, when you are faster, because of the less drag that it has, it produces, a faster speed, and it gets those speeds faster, guys. So yes, it is better than the F5E at a 10.7. This is, a very good F5 that will be very interesting. Yes, it's minor things, and it's just an F5, but I mean, think about it. It's very cool to see this type of thing because it is an aircraft that is indeed better than an F5E that normally has a higher BR, which is pretty interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing actually get a higher BR. If we actually take a look on the turning capability, we can see some interesting things as well if the thing calculates. Hold up. So, for example, here, the actual speeds where the F5 NF-5A basically turns better, it's different, but it can turn better than the F5E as well and the F5A. You need to be a little bit faster, but you have a little bit more engine as well, so it means you turn more. In the lower airspeeds, you will turn less, though, okay? So just think about that, okay? But in the higher airspeeds, you can even turn more. So it's very interesting to see that a premium F5A that is built by Canada, it's technically even better than the F5E, right? And I heard that even some modifications that were done to the CF5s, and eventually the NF-5 as well, were built into the F5E as well, which is pretty cool, isn't it? It's pretty cool. So yeah, the NF-5A isn't just a normal F5. It has its own capabilities, its own things to go for in a very low BR. So that's why I think this aircraft is so interesting, because it's better than some of the other more advanced F5s. Another thing that you have to think about is that they actually changed the structural parts of the aircraft as well. So that's one of the reasons it might actually be better in some of these cases that I told you guys about. But in a general sense, guys, just think about that. This engine with this performance and everything, it means that this aircraft will probably have in the most categories the best, apart from a very low speed acceleration maybe, the best performance out of all F5s in the game. So I would assume that this thing will actually be a higher BR. I mean, probably 11.0, I would assume. Even if it doesn't have a radar or anything like that, the performance is more akin to the F5E than the F5A, okay? So I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the BR of it, okay? Anyway, even with an 11.0 BR, it is still a very worthy aircraft to get. I think it's a very cool jet. Has a cool history behind it, being built in Canada, having its own Canadian engine and its own ideas behind it. So very unique, even though it is a copy-paste. So yeah, very cool, right? Another cool thing about this aircraft is that it's the first F5, if I'm not mistaken, that can actually take the tip tanks, right? If you don't know, these tanks, they are very interesting because the idea here is to basically decrease the drag. Yes, the objective of these tip tanks is to decrease the drag while taking more fuel. So instead of having some form of thing there to like a winglet or something to just be there and reduce the induced drag, right? You have actually, fuel tanks. This is used by many aircraft, F-104s, even civilian aircraft. And it really does help the performance of the aircraft. It really helps with the induced drag, and also at the same time you create an external fuel tank that you can take. You cannot drop them, obviously. They are droppable in the ground, of course, but it is the first F5, if I'm not mistaken, that can use this. So it is very cool as a pilot to see this, because I always seen this in pictures and of course in real life in civilian jets, and never saw it in the game apart from like the F9F, I think. So there might be others, but there are not a lot of aircraft that they add these. How useful will it be? Not very, because you have to not use your missiles to use these, but it's still cool to have the option, even if it's useless. And if you want to help the channel, link is in the description for the PayPal. You can always help it out. I will always leave that link there if you want to donate. But also we are trying to improve the quality of the channel, so if you want to help there, we are getting a new GPU so that I can improve the quality and stuff. So if you want to help, link is in the description, okay? And here it is, the second Dutch aircraft, the FOKKER 21, which is one of the most unique props that we have in the 1 point something BRs, yes, is it that interesting? No, maybe not for the majority of the players, but it's still not a copy-paste that is added. So I think you guys should have an idea that this aircraft, even though it is, very low rank and doesn't matter too much for the game meta and stuff, it is still a very interesting aircraft just because it's not copy-paste. Look at the model, perfect model, very cool. It already has the cockpit in Dutch, some of the parts at least, so that's pretty cool. I mean, look at this, all in Dutch. The avionics and stuff. This is from 1938 apparently, so very cool. It has 4 FN Browning machine guns, 7.62, so yeah, normal, very low BR stuff. Very good turn rate. It's actually pretty fast, if in a general sense. For these BRs, it's yeah, look at that, it can go pretty fast actually. And yeah, very interesting aircraft. It might not be the most interesting thing of the patch, of course, but it's there, it's not a copy-paste, and it's a new Dutch aircraft that I think people should enjoy this type of thing. Uniqueness is always good, even in these lower ranks. So if you are Dutch, let me know in the comments if you like this aircraft. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. If you liked the video, of course, you can always help the channel, like I said. And I see you guys on the next one. So bye guys, see ya.